Okay, my name is Russell Keevy. I'm your instructor for English 203. Many of you already know me. You had me for English 102. Some of you don't. So what I want to do today is just kind of give you an overview of the course and some of there's like 4 key concepts that I really want you to kind of be aware of and think about as you're reading the pieces and responding to the pieces and thinking about the pieces. In this course, in the past, I've always done it's a survey course, so I've done things in kind of a chronological order, starting way back with the Puritans and a little bit with the Native Americans before that. But I'm going to try a different approach this time. It's going to be more kind of a comparative approach, so we can look at similar things from different eras and see how are they thinking about differently or thinking about things similarly. So I've prepared this PowerPoint that I worked very, very hard on just for you guys. So I'm going to kind of pop that open and we'll kind of go through that. It shouldn't take too long. So here we go. Let me get to the right screen. Okay, here we go. Okay, so this is a survey course, which means it's got a very broad focus. We're going to look at some of the best examples of different genres and voices from different American eras. We're going to engage in short fiction, nonfiction, poetry in this course. And the main thing, if you draw on a lot of the stuff you learned in English 102, you should really be able to engage this material in kind of an interesting and effective way. So that's kind of what I look for as we go through this course. So there's really kind of 3 kinds of assignments. And I told a lot of you that this isn't heavy on essays, and it's really not. There's kind of one final research essay, but mostly it'll be some discussion boards. And really all I expect here is your responses are thoughtful and developed and supported with some details, maybe some textual evidence and examples from the readings. And what I really would encourage you guys to do, and I may require you to do it or may not, I haven't decided yet, is that you'll read the other people's posts and respond to them, to their ideas, and not in negative ways. There's no search and destroy mission here, but to kind of say, well, I see what you're saying, and maybe there's another way to think about it, or just to confirm that you feel like they gave a really good response. You don't have to do that to everybody because it'll take you forever, but skim through them, and the ones that jump out for you, you should feel free to comment on. I'm going to do this new thing. This is a brand new one for me, called kind of one-pagers, and they're going to be worth more points. And I'm going to expect a little. Well, I guess I'm going to ask you to elaborate on a specific question or topic more than I would in a discussion board. They're one-pagers because that's really all I want to read is one page. And if they're 3/4 of a page, that's fine too. But it's just going to kind of be maybe a discussion board a little bit on steroids. And then there's a final research paper. And so near the end of the semester, I will assign this essay, and it's going to be a research one. You're going to use academic research and the ideas that we've explored throughout the semester to develop and support your main ideas regarding the story. I mean, some people might really take this story on, and frame it in these kind of 4 key ideas that I'm going to talk about in a minute. That I've had people do that, and it's really good paper. So of course you have to complete this assignment to pass the course. So that's kind of an important thing to know, and you'll see that again in the syllabus. So these 4 key ideas are going to be identity. And if the ones that had English 102 for me know that I really like to talk about identity, and I think it's really important, and you've already been kind of familiar with this idea. Another one is transcendence, and then desire, and loss. And these are kind of the 4 big ideas that we're going to kind of frame our discussions, and I'll frame questions about the readings and there'll be stuff beyond that, but these are going to be kind of the glue that holds the focus of the course and the glue that holds it together. So I thought I'd talk about each one of these a little bit just to kind of clarify, so you have a better idea what I'm thinking, and how I want you to kind of look at it. So when we think about identity, here's kind of a dictionary type identity, a dictionary definition of identity. Identity is who you are, the way you think about yourself, the way you're viewed by the world, and the characteristics that define you. And actually, you've got your first discussion board asks you to explore this in detail. So I'll just leave it to that, and we'll see how that goes. In many of the stories we read, identity is going to be a key element for consideration. Now, if you had English 102 for me, you'll remember Kate Chopin, Story of an Hour, where we're going to start off with Kate Chopin again with another story called Desiree's Baby. Okay, so identity is a key element for consideration in this story. All right, this story is very, very influenced by identity. The two main characters, Desiree and Armand, are really victims of their kind of own conception of identity, but also about how other people's impose identity on them. One could almost, argue that identity is the antagonist in this story. It's also related to these other three focuses of the course: transcendence, desire, and loss. And we'll look at those in the next slides. There's going to be a lot of other ways we approach identity throughout this course, because you'll soon see that identity can be very complicated and multifaceted. Next slide, please. Okay, a simple way to think about transcendence is the ability or act of being able to move past or beyond something. Okay, to transcend, to go beyond. For example, we'll just keep it simple here. Many people go to college in order to transcend or move beyond their current social or economic condition. I know that's why I went to college. I went from selling tires to doing this. So hard to believe, isn't it? So in essence, you're all engaged in a kind of a transcendental activity as you read this. We'll be looking at transcendence in other ways as we progress, but I think this kind of definition will kind of serve us well as we begin these ideas. In Desiree's Baby, the idea of transcendence is closely tied to identity. It's interesting because Desiree's identity is not only a kind of mystery to her, but it's a mystery to everybody else. This is central to the conflict of this story. However, Armand is faced with some unsettling realities about his own identity, which I'll just kind of give you a hint. It has to do with race, which in the context of this story is super important, which you can either deny or accept or transcend. What he chooses, regarding his identity, or how he moves forward after the realization, determines both his fate and Desiree's. So transcendence is pretty important here. Desire. Okay, so I got to tell you, I honestly think desire is the most powerful. I don't know if it's an emotion or trait or feature of being a human being, but I think it's the one that really motivates us and animates us. So desire is the emotion of longing or hoping for a person, object, or outcome, which is a very simple definition. This same sense is expressed by words such as craving, so it's kind of a synonym. When a person desires something or someone, their sense of longing is excited by the enjoyment or the thought of an item or person, and they want to take actions to obtain their goal. One might say that desire and happiness are, joined at the chest, So I have, this is just my thing, okay, not yours, but mine. I believe that desire is really a central human quality that motivates us, okay? It animates us. It's the things that makes us get out of bed in the morning, all right? So there's many also aspects to the concept of desire, such as security, acquisition, goals, satisfaction, happiness, success, and many more. However, one of the strongest forms of desire is love. And I don't think I'd be exaggerating if I said the one thing we all want is to love and be loved. I think that's, kind of one of the most basic elements of our, to kind of make us human, our human experience. I think it's I think it's universal, I think if there's one thing you can say about human beings, that you could say about human beings anywhere on planet Earth, or really at any point in time that we've been wandering around here, this might be it, okay? And this can be in terms of family, friends, or it can be romantic. For many of us, that romantic one is the really one that rocks our world, makes us nuts. If you read, if you guys guys, if you guys remember reading Rose for Emily, you know, desire really made her do some crazy stuff. Not that any of us would do anything crazy, but it made her do that. We'll explore how desire underlies the thoughts and actions of the characters. And I think it's going to be very, very apparent in Desiree's Baby, so I don't really have a lot to say about it. But of course, as you read Desiree's Baby, it's going to become evident how desire and variations on desire motivate or influence the character's thoughts or actions. And here's our last one. It's the sad one. Got a pretty fine graphic there. So let's just go with a very basic definition of loss: the state or feeling of grief when deprived of someone or something of value. And I think grief is a rather, I don't know if that's really a, you know, it's kind of a vague word, you know, because we know sometimes how intense loss can be. We know sometimes that even loss can be very debilitating at times, you know, or even destructive. So, you know, grief is kind of putting it mildly. I mean, most of the time it's that, but boy, sometimes it's way, way more than that. So I think the most efficient way to talk about loss is in the context of this class is in contrast with desire. You know, I think I use the term yin and yang. So in a way, you could say these may be the yin and yang of human experience. And I get a little definition below, but you guys have seen this symbol. You kind of get this idea of what it is. You can read the definition. Well, I'll do it. So it's two principles: one negative, dark and feminine. Why feminine? I don't know. And one positive, bright and masculine, whose interactions influences the destinies of creatures and things. So, you know, and I'm just using yin and yang as just kind of a way to think about this. Both desire and loss can affect us in very powerful ways, both negative and positive. So in Desiree's Baby, you're going to observe how these two dominant features of our shared experience come into a troubling and destructive conflict with one another. For instance, if we want to discuss desire in terms of love, we know how powerful that experience can be. On the other hand, when it comes to love, loss can be just as powerful, if not more, maybe even devastating for some folks. And in certain situations, you know, and it could be, you know, in a romantic sense, or it could be family or friends or even a job, you know. So we can also, you know, look at idea of loss in other aspects of our experience, you know. Sometimes even loss, we lose a part of our identity sometimes, you know. That happens, and we will probably run into some stories where that happens. I think sometimes we look at loss and failure as kind of synonymous or being the same thing. And sometimes that might be, maybe at times loss maybe is just more like disappointment, while at other times loss can be consuming. So you get a sense that we're going to kind of play with these ideas as we go through the semester, and don't get too wound up about it. It's I'll give you plenty of latitude and room, and I don't know that there's a lot of right or wrong answers when it comes to this stuff. I'm just looking mostly for thoughtful answers, something you've given some thought, maybe draw on your own experience. So I hope this video kind of helps set the tone for the semester, and you go through and look at the material, the rest of the material in the Blackboard. And I look forward to having a very interesting and engaging and maybe even fun semester with you guys. So you'll be hearing more from me later.